Thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. As you mentioned, a $2 million budget for the city. Well, it's shrinking every year, as most of our cities. Park and rec budgets are these days, but so that's kind of foreshadowing to what we've decided to do in Alton for the park. Gordon Moore Park is what we see as a regional park. It's somewhere that whether you're from Bethalto or East Alton or Woodruff or Roxana, Jerseyville, a lot of you have been there and had sporting events there or been to family reunions or whatnot. And the park was built all by volunteer efforts back in the late 70s and early 80s. And unfortunately, as with anything, it has depreciated over time. And a lot of the buildings which were original to the park are still there and still counted on for operation, like the bathrooms and the concessions and whatnot. So as you might imagine, if you've been out there in the last 5 years or so, you probably have noticed that the park just doesn't sparkle like it used to back in the 90s, as I remember it when I was a kid. That's, in my job, that's deflating, and I hate to see that. So what we've done is we've been trying to figure out over the last 2 or 3 years. This is my 4th year there, by the way. I came to Alton about a little over 4 years ago. And one of my initial thoughts was how do we even begin to start working on the improvement of Gordon Moore Park to get it back to where it used to be? Well, without raising a budget, without money that we get out of city tax dollars. What we did initially, and it was small, is we had a scoreboard drive because we had this old crappy scoreboard that Marquette and Alton High both played their soccer games at the fields, and it wouldn't even work sometimes, and it was an embarrassment. So what we decided to do, something that we could do, is get some community support and get some scoreboards. Well, we drew interest from several area businesses, and we were able to get 4 new scoreboards, 2 on the soccer/football fields, and then 2 on the softball fields. That was a start. I mean, it helped. It just looks better. Even if they're not running, it makes the complex look a little bit better out there. And so that was all done through private sponsorships. The next thing, the following year, in 2015, we focused on the area of the park known as Hopkins Field. Baseball stadium used to host the Bluff City Bombers years ago. Well, they
bombed out.
Yeah, they bombed out. They're gone. Anyways, we still had a lot of play at the time between the Legion and Alton High and Marquette and various collegiate leagues that would play their home games there. The field was in really bad condition back in about 2014. The lips were terrible. It was dangerous. The lighting was sketchy at best. So we decided to focus our efforts on that field because we had a chance of getting a big regional tournament there with the Legion program. So we put about $100,000 into that field through our Madison County PEP grant money and some of the city budget at that time. We resurfaced the entire field, regraded it, upgraded lighting and whatnot, and it's in a lot better condition. It's also a field that helps us attract some tournaments that needs 90-foot bases and a full-size baseball field that they need for like high school select tournaments, which we have been having over the past several years. Another portion of the park that has been focused on, actually with not so much city help, is the Oriental Garden. I don't know how familiar you are with the Oriental Garden, but it's in the back section of the park. We got a Oriental Garden committee that took a little ownership over the park, and they helped generate a new gazebo, and we restored the pump to the little koi fish pond. They got 22 new cherry trees back there. It looks beautiful, much better than it did when I first got there 4 years ago. especially in the springtime when the cherry trees are blooming. Let's fast forward a little bit to last year. One of the main things that was a focus that we got a lot of complaints about was the tennis courts. They were in really bad shape, chipping, cracking, paint coming off, whatnot. The high schools wouldn't play there anymore. Recreation players wouldn't hardly even play there anymore. So there's a Simpson Tennis Committee that got together that helped build the place back years ago, and some of the descendants of them put together fundraisers, whatnot they did on their own, and helped generate some small dollar sponsorships. And we were able to help match some of that this past year with some grant money. So we got 6 new tennis court surfaces, and we were able to open them this past summer. And they're in a lot better condition, and Marquette's playing out there again. And it's not so much of an eyesore anymore either. So that's another section of the park that we've been able to hit on. Now it's a huge park, very big park. There's a lot of sections to it. This is what I call the dream. It's what I put together about a year ago. It's got a little bit of what I mentioned. We'll talk about the new concession and restroom facility up near the front of the park, along with the new inclusive playground that we just got done. You'll see that on here, along with a trail system, which I think is pretty desperately needed in the park, because right now you got a lot of pedestrians, bikers that want to come out there and do it, walk their dog, whatever, but there's no real paths. It's all streets, so you got to dodge cars while you're taking your walk. I think a trail system's desperately needed, and that's in the works, I guess you could say. I'll pass these around if anybody wants to thumb through them while I'm talking. So about a year ago, between myself and the mayor and Dale Blatchford, who is over Liberty Bank, he came to us because he's a park advocate, and he wanted to know how they could help. And I mean, it's endless, the possibilities that we could do if we have the support. So he decided that he wanted to get a group of people together to form a committee and try to raise some money for the park. And it's the Gordmore Park Restoration Committee. You'll see the little brochures on each one of your tables, kind of explaining what we've been doing the last year or so. The committee members are on the back. You'll see Dale and PJ Junn with Junn Construction. They've been a huge help and a huge part of this project so far. We've been trying to raise dollars to put into the park to help with the stuff that needs done out there. I mean, we sat down in the beginning, we had to prioritize a little bit. Where can we start? What's realistic? Set some goals. And it's no secret that the bathrooms and the concessions out there are less than desirable. So we decided to focus up at the front of the park near the soccer complex and try to come up with a new concession, which we need a bigger concession pretty desperately for all the soccer games that we have out there. When the place was built back in the late 70s, I don't think they anticipated the amount of soccer players and teams and possible tournaments that could come to the park. So the concession, the bathrooms were built very small, and it's about 1/10 of the size that we need them. So that's where we started. PJ, John, and some of his folks came up with a plan for what we could do, and tried to decipher how much it would take. They came up with this concession/restroom with a pavilion attached that is now, thankfully, underway. Actually, we got the footings done of the building. I'll get into the money here in a second, but this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be right on when you go in the entrance to the park, on the right where the soccer fields are. That old concession right there is going to go away, and the new one will replace that. So we're really looking forward to that. But what we did to come up with the money, I'm sure you're interested a little bit in how we funded the $600,000 concession stand is what it is. I'm going to skip around a little bit, but in the meantime, I was working on a playground project that it came about, you know, kind of, it was a dream, I guess, kind of a pipe dream to have an inclusive playground. You don't see a lot of those around here. You see them in St. Louis, there is one in Edwardsville, but there's none in the Riverbend area. So it was always kind of my thought in the back of my mind, man, I'd really like to get one of these, especially in Gordon Park, a regional type park, and have it available to the kids in our community. It's an inclusive playground, means that it's designed for children of all abilities. There's 5 main handicaps that are focused on to make specific equipment for sensory disabilities, cognitive, communicative, physical. I name them all. I don't know. Anyway, they're all focused on in this playground. If you get a chance, we just opened it here a couple months ago. Stop by Gordon Moore. It's right on the entrance to the left. Beautiful new little playground. And that project right there was $300,000. The reason we got it done was because I talked to the folks with Phillips 66 about a year and a half ago, or no, not even that long ago, and they were they were taking grant applications for their big community project. I think they donated towards the bridge at Belk Park in Wood River last year. So anyway, I talked to them about this project right here, the concession and restrooms. Not a whole lot of interest there because it's infrastructure. They really like to do something that helps, you know, with children and whatnot. So I told her about I really want to do this playground. It's been a dream of mine. I applied for the grant, which went down to Houston, and those folks down there approved it for $125,000, which is great. I mean, that's half the project right there. Now, along with that, we're going to have to throw the rest of it was a $300,000, so we still needed another $175,000. We're going to throw that into the fundraising for the rest of this. I applied for a grant with Illinois Park and Rec Association and Game Time Play Equipment. It was a matching grant, so they would match a playground, you know, that you were planning on building. They would match all of the dollars that you had. And if you got the grant, I think there were 4 or 5 in Illinois, they would help you finish your project. So we were lucky enough to get that for the southern region. We got $125,000 matching the Phillips 66 from Illinois Park and Rec Association, which got us darn near the goal. So then we were ready to begin, and the rest of the money we got through private sponsorships and donations. We did a dine-out night to help raise money for the remainder of the month, $50,000 for the playground. I'll pass these around. You can take a look at the playground. We also did the 2 local Kiwanis clubs donated towards a couple different objects, which was about $22,000 in the project. So it was really wonderful how a lot of the community members took interest.
We usually don't swear and say Kiwanis in the road.
I'm sorry. Just a fact. Just a fact.
He does all the time, so it's okay.
We don't mean to.
Yeah, we don't mean to swear.
Yeah, that was the time. I didn't get a warning. You didn't give me a
We just
warning.
mentioned ones that contributed.
They did. They were very small portions.
He didn't call us for some people we know.
The remainder of the project I'll get to now. What we're still working on. Mark mentioned the trailer out front of Gordon Park. If you've driven down 140, you'll see this big banner on the side of a trailer. That's all in all, the restoration project that we have in mind is a $2.2 million project. That does include a $1 million road improvement project that we've got a grant, a federal grant from CMAQ, which is it's a congestion mitigation and air quality grant, and we got it approved not too long ago. So that is included in the 2.2 million. It's going to be, the entrance of Gordon Moore is going to be expanded a bit. There will be two lanes leaving the park. I don't know if you've ever been there for your kids' soccer in the evenings or what. Yeah, it can be a little dangerous. So we're hopefully getting that all improved next year. So the entryway and the exit, and a secondary entrance and exit as well, over by what we used to call the tank playground, the playground that's next to 140 down on the other side of the soccer fields. There will be a secondary entrance and exit over there that's included here. Fast forward, we're down to, this banner says 275,000 remaining. Up to this point, we're only actually about 150,000. We've got considerable donations from the restoration committee that I mentioned early on. Has been working really hard at selling bricks, and we had a family fun day in October that helped generate about $20,000 out at the park. It was a tremendous event, and it was fairly simple. I mean, we charged for parking for the fundraising up from towards the park, and we had a lot of little games and stuff and food, vendors. We did that whole type of thing. And all in all, sponsorships also came in for the specific event, Family Fun Day. We raised about $20,000 that day, and it was a lot of help from Monica Bristow at the Growth Association to get the word out and around, and we're thankful for that. I'll show you, I'll pass these around. These are a lot of the donations we've got, the bigger donations from area businesses and clubs that have helped put major dents into our fundraising efforts. All in all, we have fundraised about $270,000 just from sponsorships and donations right now in the past year. You'll see in the brochure that we sold like naming rights, field names, pillars, stones, bricks, that's all going into the construction of the concession area. So there's ways that people can get involved in the area, all the way down from $5 up to as much as you want to donate towards the park. But we feel this is, as far as the impact, I think it's important for not just Alton, but for all the Riverbend area, because it is such a regional park, and we've already got a lot of interest in tournaments. I had signed a 2-year contract with the NFL Hall of Fame Youth Football Association to have their Midwest Regional Tournament at Gordon Moore Park the first weekend of December. And there are 67 teams coming in from Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Missouri, and they're all going to be staying around here. They're going to be eating around here and hopefully shopping and doing all kind of stuff. So it's events like that we really look to pull in addition to what we have been doing out there, as far as our own leagues and our local teams and select leagues, and it's just, I think it's been pretty desperately needed for a long time, and we're thankful to have some community support that's popped up over the past year, and we're still working on it, but we put a major dent in it, and it's exciting.